the center of U.S. political attention as two Senate runoff elections will determine which party controls the upper house. Political strategist and pollster and founder of Luntz Global has been laser focused on the state of Georgia since election night. And we welcome Frank Luntz now back here for an update. So, Frank, great to have you with us. What is going on in Georgia as you see it?
Well, and I apologize. I think that my video's gone out, but you can still hear me.
I can.
Three things are happening in Georgia. Number one is that there's more money going into this race than has ever been spent on a political race in American history. Number two is that, quite frankly, so much money is being spent that people are hearing these messages, and they're almost all negative, about 10-to-1 negative, that they're already fed up and they've got another 6-7 weeks to go. And number three, they realize that they are the center of the universe, of the democratic universe right now. And so Georgia voters get a chance to experience what Iowa and New Hampshire voters get to experience every 4 years. And they know more about the candidates, they know more about the issues, and frankly, they're a little bit fed up, and they've got so much longer to go.
Demographics are always key. You know better than I in an election, but particularly with this election in Georgia, we hear various things about young people, younger voters who haven't voted before. We hear about Asian Americans in Georgia, as well as African Americans. What will determine the voter turnout and the voting?
So number one is actually Donald Trump more than anything else. And apparently he is going to Georgia at the end of this week, and if he goes 2 or 3 times, he will have an impact on turnout. I'm going to see if Joe Biden's going to go, because he can have an impact on turnout on that side. So I'm looking at the people who participate in the process, not just the voters themselves. Second is that the key block right now are married, white, women with kids who shifted from the Republican Party to some degree, and some of them voted for Joe Biden for the first time because, frankly, they agreed with Donald Trump but did not like his message. And the Republicans down there have the advantage that they talk about the support for Trump's agenda, but they're not saddled with the negativity that Donald Trump was saddled with. However, Joe Biden and the Democrats have an opportunity unprecedented in Georgia politics because Stacey Abrams, the candidate for governor, has registered more people, more voters than any single individual has ever registered in the state. Those people are first-time voters, and frankly, they don't want to give up until after the runoff on January 5th.
One of the things that we've seen reports of, and I'm curious to see whether you've detected this, is that perhaps all the talk, let's be frank, from President Trump on down about it's a fraud, the election's really rigged, may actually be discouraging some Republican voters from voting. Do you see that in Georgia?
I had seen that in the very first days after the election, but in the work that we've done, and I don't know if you got those slides there, 70% of Democrats in Georgia give this election a 10, which means it is extremely important to them and they're definitely going to vote, compared to 80% of Republicans. We also asked a similar question: which election is more important to you, the presidential election, Senate election? And more Republicans chose the Senate election than Democrats, which means that they are absolutely keyed in on the importance of January 5th. And frankly, with taxes up for grabs, the Green New Deal up for grabs, immigration up for grabs, the filibuster, 2 new states, a change in the Senate, whether or not they're going to try to pack the court, all of these issues are going to be decided by what happens on the 5th of January. I'll let you in on a secret. I have to decide whether or not to sell my house. If I sell it by December 29th, I get the capital gains of the current rate. If I wait and the Democrats take control of the Senate, then they're going to repeal the tax cuts, and I will pay a lot more. So, David, you and I should stay in touch, because I got a personal stake in that Georgia election.
I was going to say, you're a one-man poll, effectively. December 28th, we'll call you up and we'll figure out how Georgia's going to come out. So what you described really sounds more pro-Republican, on both the races. Trump's not on the ballot. President Trump is not on the ballot, which helps some. People split their ballot anyway before. If the Democrats, and it would require 2 of them, if they pull it out, how will they do that?
They will do it by raising turnout. Now, there's the most important voter in Georgia. There's 12% who would prefer split tickets, who would prefer to elect one Democrat and one Republican. And that won't give the Democrats the 50-50 vote that they need to take control of the Senate. But that 12% is going to determine if both the Republicans win. And right now, Republicans have a 4-point advantage. So yes, I do think that the advantage goes to the Republicans. However, the Republicans are in disarray. There's internal differences between them. They're arguing with the Secretary of State. There are accusations about the governor and the governor's involvement in the presidential race. That is all leading to chaos and confusion, which you don't want in a race like this. The Democrats are unified. They've got one purpose, one message. They're all following Stacey Abrams, and they like their candidates very much. The Republicans are much more disorganized, but they've got a bigger field to play with. And I'd give the Republicans a 1% advantage if the election were held today.
Talk just at the end here about the money, because we know it's a huge amount of money. Is it evenly split between Democrats and Republicans? Because there are reports, actually, some Democrats on Wall Street are not going in with a lot of money, in big part because of your house and the concern about what happens to taxes.
Well, I'd like to think that the Democrats on Wall Street are concerned about my house. I think they'd rather burn it down than do anything with it. You reach a point when you get to saturation, when there's simply nothing that the money can buy. They have all the voter contacts they need. They've got all the advertising they need. They got all the social media they need. And so I'm telling now candidates from both parties or donors in both parties, within the next week, unless you're donating right now, your money, there's nothing it can be spent on. I mean, that's how important this election is. They're going to spend millions in this election because it's going to impact many, many billions of dollars.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quicktake now for insight in an instant.